What's up, winners? Hello, beautiful people. Hello, leaders. How you doing? We have arrived to the final amazing, incredible chapter of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And we have arrived to the Law of Legacy, which is the final chapter of this amazing book. Incredible. I'll share with you something that happened very quickly. I actually read the final 3 chapters like a couple of days ago without the mic on, like without this thing on. And I read them and they did feel great. But now that I'm rereading them, I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking brilliant. If you have not checked out the Law of Explosive Growth, you have to check it out because it was incredible, like revolutionary, how amazing that chapter was. And I'm confident that if you have a business right now and you're looking for that next level, you have to read that chapter to really grasp the concept, because leaders develop leaders. If you're just spending time with the people that take up so much time, they typically are the bottom half, bottom 20%. They take up so much time of your life, of your business, of your mind. And John Maxwell, he's like, you shouldn't be paying attention to them, not that much. Get someone else to pay attention to them, not you. If you're the leader in the organization, you should be focused on the top 20% of leaders. Those are the ones that are gonna, be in alignment to your vision, be in alignment to what it is that you're looking to accomplish. And then that's where explosive growth happens, because if you're just leading followers, you're getting one by one by one by one. But when you're leading leaders have an influx of followers beneath them, and they're able to culminate that one vision that you have. So if you want to get deeper with this, make sure to dive into the previous chapter of the Law of Explosive Growth. In this particular chapter, we're going to be covering the Law of Legacy. The Law of Legacy. Okay, this is where leaders' lasting value is measured by succession. What do you want people to say about you at your funeral? That may seem like an odd question, but it may be the most important thing that you can ask yourself as a leader. Most people never consider it, and that's not good, because if they don't, their lives in leadership can take direction different from that of the greatest potential impact. And if you want your leadership to really have meaning, you need to take into account the law of legacy. Why? Because a leader's lasting value is measured by succession, striving for meaning. Eleanor Roosevelt commented, life is like a parachute. You've got to get it right the first time. I've always been conscious of the fact that our time here on earth is limited, and we need to make the most out of it. Life is not a dress rehearsal. My father impressed that on me when I was a teenager, and as a result, I've had the drive and desire to be the best I could at everything that I did. But I have to admit, my goals and desires have changed quite a bit over the years, and that has affected my direction of my leadership. Claire, the writer, politician, and ambassador, popularized the idea of the life sentence, a statement summarizing the goal and purpose of one's life. When I started my career in the late 1960s, my life sentence could have been expressed as, I want to be a great pastor. And several years later, as I worked and realized my shortcomings as a speaker, my sentence changed to be, I want to be a great communicator. And then for more than a decade, improving my speaking skills became a major focus. However, when I reached my early 30s, I realized that if all I did was speak, my impact would be limited. There are so many days in a year and so many people who will come to an event to hear you. And I wanted to reach more people than that. That's when I decided I want to be a great writer. It took me 3 years to write my first book. It's a small volume of only 128 pages, and each chapter is only 3 to 4 pages long. Someone at a conference once complimented me, saying that how smart she thought it was to create a book with such short chapters. And smart had nothing to do with it. I just didn't have very much to say. I've written many books since then, and I'm grateful that my writing has afforded me the opportunity to communicate with more people. But when I reached my 40s, my focus changed again. That's when I decided I want to become a great leader, and I wanted to build and lead organizations that could make a difference. Change in perspective. I've discovered that each stage of my life, I've grown and my world has gotten bigger. And as a result, my life sentence has changed. When I was in my late 50s, I thought about all the previous statements I had embraced, and I realized that they all had common denominators, adding value to others. That was really my desire. I wanted to be an effective pastor, communicator, writer, and leader so that I could help people. Now that I've turned 60, I've finally settled on the life sentence that I believe will serve me the rest of my days. When they hold my funeral, I hope I will have lived a life that prompts people to know why I was here, and they don't have to guess at it. My life sentence is, I want to add value to leaders who will multiply value to others. That's strong. Why is it so important to pay attention to your life sentence? Because your life sentence not only sets the direction of your life, but it also determines the legacy that you will leave. It took me a very long time to figure that out, and my hope is that you can learn the lessons more quickly than I did. Success doesn't count for much if you have nothing, if you leave nothing behind. And the best way to do that is through leadership legacy. Developing your leadership legacy. If you desire to make an impact as a leader on a future generation, then I suggest that you become highly intentional about your legacy. I believe that every person leaves some kind of legacy, and for some it's positive, for others it's negative. But here's what I know. We have a choice about what legacy we will leave, and we must work and be intentional to leave the legacy we want. And here's how. 1, know the legacy you want to leave. Most people simply accept their lives. They don't lead them. And I believe people need to be proactive about how they live. I believe that is especially true for leaders. In the book, Training for Power and Leadership, Greenville, the author, he writes, your life is like a book. The title page is your name. The preface is your introduction to the world. The pages are a daily record of your efforts, trials, pleasures, discouragements, and achievements. And day by day, your thoughts and acts are being inscribed in your book of life. And hour by hour, the record of being made, that must stand for all time. Once the word finish must be written, let it then be said, your book, that is a record of noble purpose, generous service, and work well done. I love that, because if you think about your life as a book, and one of the books that we're going to be reading in this particular Billionairette year is, we're going to be reading The Compound Effect, I believe in November. I think, yeah, November. And with that in mind, like, if you take a summary of each day and you write down exactly what happened, what you learned from it, what you got out of it, and how you can excel, I mean, that's a huge, if you build that up over an entire year, you have a whole book. You have 365 pages. If you think about it that way, that's really, really strong. If you consider writing a book, if that's something that's in your cards or in your vision, that would be really incredible. Someday people will summarize your life in a single sentence, and my advice is to pick it now. Number 2, live the legacy that you want to leave. I believe to have any credibility as a leader, you must live what you say you believe. I've touched on that in the law of solid ground and the law of the picture. And because my legacy involves adding value by influencing others, I have focused most of my attention on leaders. I have become highly intentional in my efforts to lead them. I believe there are 7 major areas of influence in society. religion, economics, government, family, media, education, and sports. In the early years of my career, I had influence in just one of those areas, and I am constantly striving to reach and gain credibility in more of the others. I try to do that by building bridges, relating to people on a heart-to-heart level, and seeking to give more than I receive. If you want to create a legacy, you need to live it first. You must first become what you desire to see in others. Number 3, choose who will carry on your legacy. I don't know what you want to accomplish in life, but I can tell you this: a legacy lives out in people, not things. Max Dupree, the author of Leadership is an Art, declared, succession is one of the key responsibilities of leadership, yet the law of legacy is something that few leaders seem to practice. Too often, leaders put their energy into organizations, buildings, systems, or other lifeless objects, but only people live on after we are gone. Everything else is temporary. There's often a natural progression to how leaders develop in the areas of legacy, starting with the desire to achieve. Achievement comes when they do big things by themselves. Success comes when they empower followers to do things for them. Significance comes when they develop leaders to do great things with them. Legacy comes when they put leaders in position to do great things without them. It's like my friend Chris Musgrove says, success is not measured by what you're leaving to, but what you are leaving behind. Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A restaurant chain, says, somebody told me, Truett, that the determination of how good a fellow you are is the conduct of your grandchildren. I said, oh, don't tell me that. I thought I did a pretty good on my 3 children. Now I've got to see how my 12 grandchildren turn out. Why would someone say that you need to look at your person's grandchildren? Well, because it's a good indication of how the people to whom you have chosen to invest your legacy will carry on without you. And for that reason, you must choose wisely. Number 4, make sure that you pass the baton. Tom Mullins, an excellent leader and former coach who sits on the equips board, tells me that the most important part of the relay race is the place that's called the exchange zone. And that's where the runners must pass the baton to their teammates, and you can have the fastest runners in the world, each one a record setter. But if they blow the exchange, they lose the race. The same is true when it comes to the law of legacy. No matter how well you lead or how good your successor is, if you don't make sure that you pass the baton, you will not leave the legacy you desire. Tom knows this so well that the last several years he has been working on his succession plan. He began grooming his son, Todd, who is also an excellent leader, to take the baton and lead in his place. As time has gone by, Todd has taken on more and more responsibility, and Tom tells me that his greatest joy now becomes from seeing Todd and other leaders step up and do an even better job of leading than he did. Just about anybody can make organization look good for a moment. By launching a flashy new program or product, drawing crowds to a big event, or slashing the budget to boost your bottom line, leaders who leave a legacy take a different approach. They take a long view. Author, educator, and theologian Elton Trueblood wrote, "We have made at least a start in discovering the meaning in human life. When we plant shade trees under which we know full well we will never sit. The best leaders lead today with tomorrow in mind, and making sure they invest in leaders who will carry their legacy forward. Why? Because a leader's lasting value is measured by succession, and that is the law of legacy." A legacy of succession. In the fall of 1997, on a trip to India with some colleagues, we decided to visit the headquarters of the leader of the 20th century, Mother Teresa. Her headquarters, which the local people call the Mother House, is a plain concrete block building located in Kolkata. As I stood outside the doors, I thought that no one could tell by looking at it that this modest place had been the home base of such an effective leader. We walked through a foyer and into a central patio that was open to the sky. Our intention was to visit Mother Teresa's tomb, which is located in the facility's dining room. But when we got there, we found out that the room was in use and we would not be allowed to go in until the ceremony was over. We could see a group of about 40 to 50 nuns seated, all dressed in the familiar habit that Mother Teresa had worn. "What's going on in there?" I asked a nun passing by, and she smiled. "Today we are taking 45 new members into our order," and she then hurried away into another part of the building. And since we were already running late and had to catch a plane, we couldn't stay. We looked around briefly and then left. And as I walked out of the compound through an alley and among the throngs of people, I thought, wow, Mother Teresa would have been proud. She was gone, but her legacy was continuing. She had made an impact on the world, and she had developed leaders who were carrying on her mission. And all appearances indicate that they will continue influencing people for generations to come. Mother Teresa's life is a vivid example of the law of legacy. Few leaders pass it on. Last year, when I was watching the Academy Award ceremony on television, something struck me. One segment of the program showed brief images of the people in the movie industry who had died in the previous years, from writers, directors, actors, technicians. Many images were greeted with polite applause, and a few received tremendous ovations. Undoubtedly, those individuals were at the top of their profession, and some were perhaps the best at their craft who ever lived. But after a few seconds on the screen, a bit of applause, they were forgotten. Everyone in the audience was focused on the next set of nominees for the Oscar. Life is fleeting. When all is said and done, your ability as a leader will not be judged by what you achieve personally. You can make a blockbuster film, but it will be forgotten in a few generations. You can write a prize-winning novel, but it will be forgotten in a few centuries. You can create a masterpiece of art, but in a millennium or two, no one will remember that you created it. No, our ability as leaders will not be measured by the buildings we build, the institutions we establish, or what our team accomplished during our tenure. You and I will be judged by how well the people we invested in carried on after we are gone. As baseball great Jackie Robinson observed, a life isn't significant except for its impact on other lives. In the end, we will be judged according to the law of legacy, and a leader's lasting value is measured by succession. And may you and I live and lead according to that standard. Here's how you can apply the law of legacy into your life. What do you want your legacy to be? If you are early in your leadership journey, I shouldn't expect you to have the definitive answer to that question yet. However, I still think there is value in your considering that you want what you want your life to stand for. Take some time to consider the big picture concerning why you lead. This will not be a quick process. The idea of legacy is closely related to a person's sense of purpose in life. Why are you here? What gifts and skills do you possess that relate to your highest potential as a human being? What unique opportunities do you possess based on your personal circumstances and what's happening in the world around you? Who might you be able to impact, and what might you be able to accomplish as a leader in your lifetime? Number two, based on your ideas, you developed concerning the legacy you want to leave, you must change it in the way you conduct yourself so that you live that legacy. Write them out. Your list may include behavioral changes, character development, education, working methods, relationship building style, and so on. Only by changing the way that you live will you be able to create the legacy that you want to leave. Number three, in whom will you invest to carry your legacy? And ideally, you should pick people with greater potential than your own who will be able to stand on your shoulders and do more than you did. Begin investing in them today. That concludes the law of legacy, but I want to actually finish it off with the conclusion of this book and add this onto this message here. Conclusion is, everything rises and falls on leadership. Well, there you have them, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and learn them take them to heart, apply them into your life. And if you follow them, people will follow you. I've been teaching leadership for more than 30 years now. And during those years, I've told the people I've trained something that I now am going to say to you. Everything rises and falls in leadership. Some people don't believe me when I say that, but it's true. The more that you try to do in life, the more you will find that leadership makes a difference. And any endeavor you can undertake that involves other people will live or die depending on the leadership. And as you work to build your organization, remember this. Personnel determines the potential of the organization. Relationships determine the morale of the organization. Structure determines the size of the organization. Vision determines the direction of the organization, and leadership determines the success of the organization. Now that you know the laws and understand them, share them with your team and take the time to evaluate yourself regarding each of the laws using the evaluation tool of the following pages. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this book, nobody does all the laws well. That's why you need to build a team. I wish you great leadership success. Pursue your dreams, strive for excellence, become the person you were created to be, accomplish all that you were put on this earth to do. Leadership will help you do that. Learn to lead, not just for yourself, but for the people who follow you. And as you reach the highest levels, don't forget to take others with you to be the leaders of tomorrow. Fantastic, fantastic. Another amazing, amazing, incredible chapter of the 21 laws of irrefutable leadership, 21 irrefutable laws on leadership. And what this cool book has is it actually has a introduction from the excerpt of Searching for Gold. It's another book by John C. Maxwell. Wow, he was really young here. Look at this. Yeah, he looking good, John. Looking good. So definitely one of the best books that I've read this year. I'm really, really thankful and grateful for this book. It has really instilled a lot of fundamentals within me that have helped me just realize what I want, and who I want in my life, versus trying to grow in a direction that will just burn me out. And I feel a lot of people are taking it seriously now. Like, do I want to do that partnership? Do I want to do that outreach? Do I want to connect with that person? Do I want to do all this? Reevaluating things. And as your leadership develops, you will know who's for you, who's not for you, all of that. And I'm very much grateful for this opportunity to receive that into my life right now in this moment in time in my life, because there's many summers to go. So I wish you the best. I hope that you received as much value as I did. And if you haven't gotten the physical book, make sure to do so. It's truly a gift. I'll talk to you soon. Have a blessed day and hope you enjoyed it. Bye.